In the interest of time, we have to kickstart. Our next speaker is Ms. Meher Afroz, who is General Manager, Core Platform Engineering, Microsoft Support. Ms. Afroz, please, welcome onto the stage. Thank you. And in her current role, she builds and runs a range of services that enable Microsoft digital transformation and showcase Microsoft first-party products in the enterprise. These include enterprise integration, electronic signatures, SAP, Dynamics, and core networking and infrastructure. She has many wonderful achievements like DigiQuiz, a program that promotes the interest in technology among high school girls in India. Code of Her, a contest aimed at creating applications for Microsoft Store that meet the needs of women. Springboard, a program launched in partnership with Human Resources to tap into talent pool of women in India who have left the workforce and find it challenging to return. Women Think Next, a platform for women in IT to exchange knowledge and ideas, develop, implement, and support existing and future technology trends. Prior to Microsoft, Ms. Meher held several leadership positions with GE. Welcome to today's session. We look forward to eagerly learning from your experiences. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Great. So I think when I was approached to do this talk, I should have checked the timing of my session. So you made my job very difficult because most of us have had a nice meal today, and having a session right after a meal, I think perhaps I'll have to do my job very well to actually gain your interest for this conversation. So first and foremost, I want to thank the organizers for inviting me to speak for a session or for a topic that's very near and dear to me and also defines what I do. So as was spoken in the introduction, I lead a team that enables Microsoft's own digital transformation, and while doing so, our goal is also to inspire other companies in their own digital transformation. So before we go any further, is this working? Oh yeah, okay. So before we go any further, I think it's very important to understand the term digital transformation. I mean, it's a very overly used term, and it's perhaps many times it's actually misunderstood. And it's also important to distinguish digitization and digital transformation. So if you go by the definition of digitization, it's about converting anything that's analog to digital. That's what it is, right? The focus is on digitizing, so you're converting something that's analog to digital. And if you reflect back, that's where it all started, right? Several of us in this audience have built our careers around it, right? So, we have taken a manual process and digitized it. And if you also look at the third industrial revolution, it was totally powered by IT and electronics. And again, the focus here has been on digitization. And the future for that continues to be there, right? There'll be tons of processes that we'll continue to digitize, and we can keep going or moving on. Digital transformation, on the other hand, the focus is on the word transformation. So what you're really doing when you're doing digital transformation, you're actually building new business applications, as well as you're disrupting and creating new business models. That's digital transformation. Okay. So this is, okay, looks like I figured it now. So, I mean, you're all familiar, right, of the experience of renting videos. right? Whether it's the Blockbuster, or for instance, your neighborhood store where you would go first rent video cassettes and then later DVDs. That was the experience that you had, let's say, 5, 6 years back. But as films got digitized, there is a totally different business model that came up, and that is of streaming content, right? Whether it is streaming, movies or any other content that you want to watch. So what essentially happened is digitization helped create a new business model, which we know of Netflix, we know about other streaming services. And in some ways, it actually took some of these businesses out of the business, right? So like, Blockbuster is gone. So there's also, there is a compelling need for business digital transformation, because if you don't transform digitally, somebody is going to come and eat your breakfast. So businesses have to continue to do that. Another experience that I want to talk about is, the cab hailing service, right? I'm sure several of you coming to this venue, so of course some of you would have most likely driven yourself, others would have got dropped, but yet others would have leveraged some kind of a cab hailing service. Now again, go back like 5, 6 years before the cab hailing services came into existence. What was the experience like? You had to first and foremost plan ahead. It was very, very important to plan ahead, right? And then, hopefully, luckily, your booking gets confirmed and somebody actually shows up. You take the ride, you reach your destination, and then, you struggle through some change or cash, or maybe like over a period of time, some of these folks actually started taking credit cards as well. But now think about the new experiences that are out there, right? The riders are now connected to the drivers, right? And this new business model is built not just upon the simple thing of connecting riders to drivers, but a lot of other real-time information that is given to you, right? So when you book a car, you pretty much know to a reasonable degree of accuracy when the ride is going to arrive. You have a sense of the route that you would take. You have a sense of when you would reach. And when you reach, the experience of leaving the car and stepping out is so seamless, right? So this is, again, another example of digital transformation that's happening around us. And we can go on and on. Right? Whether it's retail, I mean, you have Airbnb, you can just keep naming industries or companies that have formed just because of sheer digital transformation. So what are the business drivers for digital transformation? First and foremost, our customers are increasingly demanding personalized experiences. Customers are not happy you treating them as one of the many, right? They want the personalized experience. Second thing, there's increased disruption because of different business models. We already spoke about that. Next, there is a faster pace of change that's happening both amongst the customers as well as the marketplace. Then there's an increasing pressure to deliver more from less. And last but not the least, there's increasing pressure to manage complex supply chains. So those are essentially the business drivers for digital transformation. So now that we have the drivers for digital transformation, let's paint the picture for the vision of digital transformation. So what would, each of you are part of some organization, and if you were to sit back and think, what would a digital transformed business look like for your space? So let's try doing that. So imagine you could enable your customers to connect with your business in ways that they want and in and anywhere they want, right? So it's not about just connecting with them, it's about connecting with them in the way they want and where they want. Next, think about if your employees, so your colleagues, if you're a business decision maker, then your entire the employees of your company, if they could elaborate or if they could collaborate effectively amongst their peers and also meet the changing needs of their customers. Next, if you could broadly share information across your enterprise and manage resources effectively. And last but not the least, you could understand how your customer is leveraging your product. How is your customer using your product so that through those insights, you can evolve your product. You can build more services and offerings for your customer. So those are the few elements of the vision. So I'm assuming everybody has a fair idea now of what that would look like within your company. So at Microsoft, we have defined our digital transformation approach. And we do that across 4 facets. First and foremost, it's about engaging your customer. How are you engaging with your customers? Secondly, how are you empowering your employees? Lastly, how are you optimizing your operations? And last but not the least, how are you transforming your products? So those are the 4 facets around which we are thinking about digital transformation within the company. Now, let me go a little bit deeper into each of them so that we can have a richer conversation around it. So first and foremost, engaging your customers. What does that look like? It's about engaging with your customer throughout the entire life cycle. So gone are the days, a customer comes to your store, you sell something, and that's done, right? Irrespective of whichever industry you're in, you got to engage with your customer through the entire life cycle, and you have to also help them make the decision. So I'm sure many of you would have experienced shopping online, and if you paid a little bit of attention, you would have seen that once you start searching something, you get suggestions on perhaps you would want to buy this, or here's something else, or when you put a typical shopping cart experience wherein let's say I've put something on my shopping cart, then I get a suggestion that, hey, do you want to try this? Or so-and-so customer would have bought something else. So what is that? That's essentially engaging with your customers. Now another thing, of course, omni-channel is kind of prevalent, right? So you've got to showcase your products and service your products through all channels. And also there is this hybrid behavior of buying services. So, you could browse stuff online, but then you would actually go to a store to actually buy it, right? You could browse, you could buy, you could get it delivered. You could browse, go to the store, come back online, buy, right? And again, there are so many combinations. And of course, last but not the least, you've also got to, you should be able to service your customers efficiently through, and so that, that goes on to add to your customer experience. So that's essentially, what we mean by engaging your customers. Next is empowering your employees. So let's say I'm an employee and I am a customer service representative. So I get this call from a customer, and maybe the customer is very irate, very unhappy. And what is worse than adding to that misery by asking more details, right? So I'm sure most of you would have experienced this, right? You're calling somebody and then they are asking you tons of questions. Versus when the customer makes that first call, you as a customer, me here as a customer service representative have all the information in front of me so that I can service this customer, right? So I know exactly, maybe hopefully some details about that person, last few orders, maybe a last, let's say if they're calling me back the second time, then knowing that, what the last experience was like. So that's one aspect of empowering your employees. The other is around how they're able to just be productive in what they do, also how they interact with their peers. So that's essentially what we mean when we say empowering your employees. The next one, optimizing your operations. So let's say I'm an operations manager. What's most important for me? So I'm very much interested in the real-time status of my inventory, of my supply chain, of my dependent systems. I want to be able to know, ahead of time if there's going to be a potential, blockage in the supply chain. I want to be able to know, will there be a downtime that I could perhaps mitigate? By modernizing your operations, right? By modernizing your manufacturing systems, the collaboration systems, interconnecting the devices, you'll be able to have this frictionless flow of information throughout the enterprise so that you can have real-time insights, and actually you could prevent all these downtimes that I talked about, right? You would be able to, your throughput will go up, your productivity would go up, you would be able to produce much more. So that's what optimizing, that's one way of thinking about optimizing your operations. Last but not the least, transforming your products. What does that look like? So how do I use the different aspects of social data that's available, as well as telemetry that I have in my own product, to understand how does my customer use my product? I mean, several of you must have, read about research that, we build a product to meet an end, but sometimes our customers will go and, try other ways of using that product. So through those insights, then you can evolve your product. So that's essentially what we mean when we say evolving your product. So with all of that, engaging with your customer, empowering your employees, optimizing operations, and evolving your products, let's look at a journey of a company that has used data to digitally transform.
Unilever is one of the world's largest consumer products goods company. Our products touch 2.5 billion consumers every day with brands like Hellmann's, Ben & Jerry's, and Dove. We believe that we have a higher purpose and that sustainable products are better for long-term growth. We're on a journey to become a data insights-driven company. For me, it's a lot about data and putting data in the hands of the people that need it. A strategy like this comes with a huge cultural, transformational shift in how we work. For our employees, that means providing insights for them to make better decisions, to help them collaborate, develop better products, to innovate. And I think that's made a really powerful change for us. For example, in marketing, digital means knowing 2.5 billion consumers and what they like and what they don't like so that we can provide better products. In human resources, understanding how people work, where they work. In R&D, that means creating new connected products. In our supply chain, it's about putting the IoT tooling into our factories and then taking that data set and unlocking insights across factories. And we're finding that instead of looking in the rearview mirror with analytics, people are now being able to predict the future. It's really completely changed the culture of our company. We're really proud of the progress we've made. And I want to say thank you to Microsoft and the many partners who have been supporting us. When I think about the journey, the word empowerment comes to mind. We talk a lot about digital, but what does digital really do? And I think it empowers people to be better at what they do every day. Really, that's what the partnership with Microsoft means to me.
So what's enabling this digital transformation? So what has really happened in the last few years is that we have democratized so many of these transformative technologies. What that essentially means is that it's easier to use these technologies in your business, as well as it's more affordable to use this technology in your business. I mean, instead of, gone are the days where you would have used, let's say, 1 or 2 of these technologies. You can deploy hundreds and thousands of it, right? It's so easy to deploy, as well as the affordability is so good. Secondly, these devices have also got connected, and they've become intelligent. So, the data that's generated from your smartphone, your smartwatch, all the different IoT sensors, right? That's all connected, and some of them are also intelligent. And if there is one underlying thing that's really fueling all of the digital transformation ahead of us, it's artificial intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence is, again, not new. Computer scientists have been working on it forever, right? I mean, again, I remember when I was in school, we were talking about artificial intelligence. But what has really changed recently? Like I mentioned earlier, data. The more and more that our lives are getting digitized, our processes are getting digitized, we are generating tons and tons of data. And data is very crucial and important for your AI models to learn. So the more data you feed in through your AI models, the better they are, they learn, and they are better. Second thing is about cloud. Cloud has really brought in the power of computing, and it has become so much easier and so much efficient to store all the data that we just talked about, and also to process all that data. And last but not the least, researchers and scientists have made a lot of breakthrough in algorithms that let you compare images, algorithms that let the computer listen to a speech and turn that into action, algorithms that can help you recognize things. Because what is AI? AI is the ability, it's not a single technology. It's a set of technology that enable you, the computers, to learn, to perceive, and to reason. So never before have all of these forces aligned like they're aligning right now as it relates to artificial intelligence. So some examples about some business scenarios or enterprise scenarios where which can help you unlock AI. So as the data says over there, 95% of organizations would have customer interactions that are going to be powered by bots. And I'm sure you're already so many banks in India are already doing that. So when you are typing a question or a query, the first line of response is through a bot, right? And the predictions are that more and more of our interactions are going to go towards conversational bots. And these bots are also becoming more and more intelligent. And the reason they're becoming intelligent is because, again, we are feeding more and more information through them. Second thing is about these apps are becoming intelligent. So the apps, as they are, as you're using those apps, they are building that intelligence. One example that I want to bring in, is, there is, I recently read that Uber, and I don't think they have brought this to India yet, but Uber is using Microsoft's cognitive APIs to actually do the driver check-in. So, when the driver starts driving the car, they can take a selfie, and then the cognitive APIs will let you check whether the driver who's driving is the driver who has the account. Because, there have been some safety issues, and through this technology, now you're able to get the confidence of your customer, right? They know that, this is a verified driver that I'm going to take the ride with. And then, of course, the leveraging AI on business processes. An example that comes to mind for me over there is something that we recently did in our team. So, of course, Microsoft operating centers, they receive bunch of emails. And what we used to do is we used to take those emails and then convert them to cases. So you take an email, manually convert them to a case, and then the case gets processed through our CRM systems. So we went ahead and implemented a technology that lets you convert the email directly to a case. So now you have kind of eliminated the human that we needed to just do that very manual task, and that individual can then work on some very high-value task, plus you improve the speed of it. So those are just some examples of how you could use AI in your business processes. So now let's look at how we are empowering farmers to grow more.
For a rain-fed farmer, preparing for agriculture is a fragile soil-water equation where timeliness and precision decide on the returns. Even a week's delay in rains can spoil the harvest. Each year, farmers in Andhra Pradesh bring all their traditional wisdom into play to anticipate the best time for sowing their crops. But with climate change and a rainfall deficit, the stakes for getting the timing right are rising. For them, the difference between a profitable year and a failed harvest is information on the optimal time to plant their fields.
Sowing date as such is very critical to ensure that they get a good crop stand, and if it fails, then lot of costs are involved in the seeds as well as the fertilizer applications. So the most important challenge for the farming community in the rain-fed agriculture areas is when to sow the crop, and that precise information which is based on the scientific data as well as the scientific observations is not available to the farmers. With this background, then ICRISAT and Microsoft together decided to develop a computer-based sowing date application.
The Sowing Date application uses powerful cloud-based predictive analytics to advise farmers on the best time to sow their crops depending on weather conditions, soil, and other indications. It uses Microsoft Cortana Intelligence Suite, including machine learning and Power BI. Besides this, with the personalized village advisory dashboard, users have access to an instant overview of factors that determine a healthy crop yield. The tool helps with insights around soil health, fertilizer recommendations, and 7 days weather forecast.
This application can be used for any state, any district in the country as well as outside the country.
All of which means farmers have some help from modern technology to add to their traditional wisdom. This translates into healthier crops, increased incomes, and happy families across rural Andhra Pradesh.
So moving on, just to give you a sense of what's the scope of digital transformation. So there is an explosion of devices. So you can see there, about 30 billion in 2020, and it was supposed to reach about 80 billion by 2025. So that's the explosion of devices. Those devices will build great data, data will be processed, and then you'll have insights and you can digitally transform. And you can also look at, about 89% of organizations have adopted or have plans to adopt a digital-first strategy. So what does that mean for all of you? How does your role evolve in this age of digital transformation? First and foremost, the customer is in the center of all of this. So you've got to know your customers. You've got to obsess about your customers. If you are executing a project and you don't know your customer, then I would really urge you to go rethink. There are different tools and techniques to go and understand your customer. If not anything, just spend a day in the life of your customer. Whatever project you're working on. Sometimes we make a mistake of mixing the stakeholder, the business stakeholder, with the customer. Your customer is the user of whatever you're building. We saw the great example by the speaker before me of irrigation. Guess who's the customer for irrigation? It's all of us, right? So it's very important to understand the customer, what the customer wants, the customer's articulated needs, and the customer's unarticulated needs. Your goal should be to know your customer even better than the customer knows themselves. Second thing we say is vision-led. What does that mean? That means you should be very, very clear as to what problem you're trying to solve. What are you really trying to do with this project? Whichever project. It could be big, small, any size, right? Be very, very clear. Working closely with your business business stakeholders are important, right? Working closely with your business stakeholder so that your vision and their vision is the same. It shouldn't be that your vision should be different from the stakeholder's vision. It has to be the same. It has to align. Next is about being data-driven. Data-driven in how you execute a project, data-driven in how you build the insights, data-driven in how you are actually designing your project so that you're collecting the data so that you have the feedback loop. Because many a times, you implement something and when somebody asks you how is it doing, you won't know, right? Because you have not built the telemetry in there so that you can get those signals. And last but not the least, I'm sure most of you already know about it, is about the agility. You have got to be agile in the methodologies that you're using, in the way you're thinking. I would strongly encourage you to, fail fast and learn from it versus kind of having these big bang approaches where it is all successful or it's all failure, right? So those are essentially, the 4 things that I want to leave you with as project managers. And before I wrap up, I want to show you one last video of an area where digital transformation is actually impacting lives of human beings.
Okay, right, I'm going to try and replicate this here. We're off to a great start. I tend to kind of just avoid doing sketching and writing now because it's not really worth it if you get something like that. Anything you could do that would just make my hand do what I want it to do and be able to sign my name would be an incredible thing.
How do we even just begin to help her overcome this particular symptom of her tremors and helping her be able to regain her writing ability, her drawing ability?
So what I'm doing is I'm making a very rough prototype, and what this board does is I can connect into it through these wires, these tiny coin cell motors. So these motors will vibrate
I personally think that what this is doing is it's short-circuiting whatever feedback loop there is between the brain and the hand that's causing the tremors. So the idea is, if you are distracted by the vibration, are you able to write better? I don't know.
Why not?
I don't know.
It's affecting something. I don't quite know what's happening.
I'm on to something, right? I'm on to something.
Woo. Woo. Jesus Christ.
Oh my God. It makes me forget that I have a tremor.
I've drawn one of them for a long time. I've actually just written my name for like the first time in ages.
I can't believe it.
Mum, it's called the Emma.
Oh, brilliant.
It's got my name on it. Right.
So I don't know how many times I watched that video, and each time I watch, it brings goosebumps. That's what motivates all of us to come to work. Thank you so much. I have my contact details out there. If there's any question, if you want to talk about anything, feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Sorry, Ms. Zara, in the interest of time, we are not able to take the Q&A today. May I call upon Mr. Venkat Reddy, Board of Director, PMIPCC, Hyderabad, to please fill state Ms. Zara. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Ms. Afroz. Thank you very much, Mr. Afroz. Thank you very much.